Welcome back to Open House with Mark Siwiec and Corey James Moran, brought to you by Elysian Homes by Mark Siwiec and Associates, a greater Rochester real estate podcast. This is episode 172. Mark, how are you?
I'm good, bud. How you doing?
Doing pretty good. I've been daddy daycare for the past
that's where I was going.
week and a half, deep in the weeds. My wife finally went back to work from her maternity leave, which she was very sad to do, but all good things come to an end. So I have just been watching our littlest guy, Jackson, nonstop, and it's been awesome. I'm really happy to have that opportunity, but it's been tough to get stuff done.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I reach out to you through email, and you almost immediately respond. I think it's taking you like a day or so to get back to me with some of my email responses. Yeah. Are the kids still alive?
Yeah, everyone's fine. Thank you for asking.
Good. No,
all the kids are alive and well. Household is, not a complete disaster. So.
And holidays, how are the holidays coming along?
Good. Some shopping to do still.
Okay.
My son Mason wants a projector screen.
Oh, okay.
As most 5-year-olds do.
Oh, actually, but he usually uses your mother-in-law's projector screen for something. I can't remember what it is.
Yes, that's where his projector screen obsession began.
Okay,
but now he needs one of his own. So we're trying to figure out which one to get him.
Very good. Very good. I finally saw It's a Wonderful Life last night.
Okay. Are you going to crap on it?
And no.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
Oh God, no. I mean, it's such a cliche, but they really don't make films like that anymore. It is just
a classic.
Oh, it's just so great. And I had some eggnog, so I really began.
Oh, I'm out.
Come on.
Disgusting.
Oh, that's right. I know you can't stand.
Why don't you just get a cold and just spit the mucus into a cup?
Oh, so you don't like the viscosity.
And then you can drink it.
Got it. Okay, all right, got it. Listen, don't rain on my Christmas parade, okay, dude?
Okay, fine.
All right, because I started celebrating last night, and you're not going to take the joy that I enjoyed. You're not going to take that from me.
All right. You just drink all the nog you need.
Back off, dude.
Lots to get to on the podcast today. 2 big economic reports to chat about. The impact on rates for both of those. Some things coming down the line as well. And then our special guest.
Yes.
I mean, this man influenced the podcast. We have we have a data point.
Yeah, yes, we do.
Thanks to him, David Dollinger is going to be chatting with us in a bit. But let's jump into it. Let's get our update. We've actually seen a decent tick up in the amount of listings. What is going on?
It just I'm going to reference Wicked. It's defying gravity.
Here we go.
It is. Yeah.
Do you want to tell me what you thought about Wicked?
No, we don't have enough time.
Not on camera.
There is. Yeah. There's not. Yeah. This is a G-rated show.
Fair. Okay.
It was a piece. It was just. All right,
I don't want to get in trouble.
No. Yeah.
Monroe County, single-family active listings. Last week when we spoke, 379.
Okay.
This week, 417.
It's insane. But I think that word is out post-election.
Yeah.
That buyers seem to have regained some of the confidence, some of the uncertainty that they were experiencing leading up to the election. Now that the election has been resolved, okay, people are back at it. And I think that sellers are realizing, like, holy shit, I got to get my house on the market for sale to take advantage of this influx of new buyers who are flooding the market. It's just insane.
And we're still
actually
seeing it, yeah.
We didn't even talk about this in terms of preparing. I'm just going to segue for a brief second.
Sure.
You haven't been in because you've been playing Dad for the past few days. But we listed a property for sale in Brighton that is on a slab.
So no basement.
No basement. We listed it for $340,000. We had 40 people walk through before the open house. We had 77 people walk through the open house.
Okay.
We had 16 offers. We sold this property for $510,000.
When has something like that happened this time of the year?
$170,000 over asking, on a slab, 1,700 square feet. It's just insane. And that insanity, that would be insane enough in, say, April, May, June. 2 weeks before Christmas? It's just, anyway, so I just think that's so fascinating, and we're going to turn to David in a few moments and hear his thoughts about what might be going on. So
that's wild.
Anyway, keep going with you. Sorry to segue there.
That's okay. No,
I forgot to prompt you in regard to that. Yeah.
6 county region, 738 last week, a smaller tick up. So this is kind of interesting too. A lot of the jump we've seen is Monroe County, 742. looks
Okay,
like.
so 4. Yeah. Okay.
Under contract and pending, the David Dollinger stat.
There we go.
961 last week. We're at 889 right now in Monroe County.
That makes sense.
For the 6-county region, it was 1459. Last week, we're at 1366.
Okay.
Right now. So that one's still in line with what we would expect.
Right,
The other,
right,
though,
right.
just very confusing.
Yeah,
Not mad about it.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'm not excited about is the fact that honestly, I really
No
would,
break.
Yeah, I really would love to, like, I don't know, sing Silent Night or something, for God's sake. So probably not Silent Night. Who wants to sing? Dude, it's
Not a singer.
Well,
I played music for a living. I didn't sing.
Yeah, but if you had a voice, if you were caroling, that's not in my top 10. That's not even in my top 50.
Are you saying carolers are lame? Is that what you're telling me?
No. I'm saying that's just not a great carol. Like, it's just not a great.
Silent Night,
It's not like a.
Yeah.
No.
It's kind of a bummer.
No, it's anyway. What do you got for us?
Mortgage interest rates.
Here we go.
That's been interesting as well.
Yep.
We'll chat about the 2 big reports that one was on Friday, one was actually just earlier this morning. Is recording here on a Wednesday. 6.78 right now, which is actually still down from the 6.85 last week, but up from where we were just a couple days ago.
We're at 6.68.
Something like that.
Ago. Yeah.
15-year 6.05 last week. That's actually up 6.09.
Right.
So the 15-year again ticked up a little bit. The jobs report, not great.
Well, all right. Again, we've been saying this for years now. What do you
I
mean
guess.
by not great?
I don't know.
Is it great? Is it not great? I mean, yes, we're creating jobs. Isn't that great? Not really.
I mean, so they added 227,000 jobs in November, which was higher than expectations, which again, usually is a bad thing. Not only that, though, they also went back into October and revised those numbers. Remember the 12,000 that we were shocked about?
Yep.
All right, so that's jumped up to 36,000, which still isn't a big number, but
and a lot of those numbers, as our listeners may recollect, had to do with the Boeing strike. A lot of those Boeing employees,
hurricane,
and then of course, the hurricane or hurricanes plural. A lot of people losing their jobs or being laid off temporarily as a result of that. So that influenced the November numbers, the October numbers, I should say. So
September adjusted down, so 255 down to 223.
Okay.
I don't think do these numbers mean anything?
I mean, it's like forecasting the weather.
Yeah,
it really is. Although Google has a new product, a new AI product.
Here we go.
That is now accurately predicting weather.
Really?
Yes, like very, very, very accurately predicting weather 19 days out. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so I'm excited about that.
Are weathermen shaking in their boots, or are they just going to utilize the technology?
Well, they should, because well, actually, you know what? No, I mean, those who are going to lose their jobs are those who don't know how to interact with AI. So I'm sure that weathermen will just be having better tools at their disposal.
There you go.
Yeah, and they will cease to be the butt of so many bad jokes.
The other big number dropped today, CPI.
Yep, CPI.
2.7%, up
Right.
from 2.6 last month.
Yeah.
Going the wrong direction.
Boo. Yeah, again, this is several months now that it's gone in the wrong direction.
And we can bring in David Dollinger now, because I know you had thoughts about this. What does this mean for next week when the Fed meets?
I don't want to tell you how to do your job, but who's David Dollinger?
There you go.
He's right here.
It's me.
There we go.
Hi.
Real estate attorney.
Thanks for having me. Yep.
Rochester celebrity.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
You were a beer truck driver before you decided to become an attorney? Did you know that, Mark?
Come on,
In
you
Vermont.
You didn't know that?
Oh my God, yeah.
No, seriously?
Well,
I do my research,
It
Mark.
only came up because it was the best job I ever had. Imagine you would get in, you go pick up all the beer at 6:30 in the morning. You get in the truck and you drive in. Our area of service was from a White River Junction down, which is on the border of New Hampshire, all the way up to Canada. So we would drive for 25, 35, 45 minutes, just driving.
Oh, you and your
Vermont.
brothers?
That was our
One of your
job.
brothers? I mean, how many?
No, it was my buddy from college.
How many brothers do you have?
I have 4 brothers.
And how many sisters?
3.
Yeah, you got a big family.
There's a lot of us.
Yeah. All right, so who are you delivering beer for? I didn't know we
The
were
beer
taking this.
distributor in Burlington, Vermont.
Oh, okay.
It was great. It was just a
So what was the premier, like, what was the cool beer that you were delivering in Vermont?
Back then, this is the 1970s. It was probably Budweiser. I mean,
There we go.
Wait, I said cool.
we
Dude,
didn't
I said-
have that kind of
Well, the
all
craft beer explosion
beers.
hadn't happened yet.
It hadn't happened.
No,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
the same stuff over and over again, and especially when you're in college. It's
Well,
the
also
cheapest,
true.
right?
Exactly. Very, very true.
I
what
did
you were
not
thinking.
know that about you. Wow.
And then I went to law school actually.
Your
later
parents must
on
have been
in
very,
life.
very proud.
They were. I was playing in a band and delivering beer. That was.
I actually
that
do.
was life, huh?
I think I've seen photos because.
No photos. I hope not.
No, long with very long hair, right? With longer
I
hair.
had long hair. Yeah.
Yeah.
A full.
Yeah,
beard.
right.
Yeah.
And the reason I know this, nobody would know this, but I'm very close with your brother Rick. Rick and I are very good friends. So So I've seen photos.
Yeah, there you go. Oh,
So
that's bad. I've seen photos. You never want to hear that, right? I've seen photos. Yeah.
So let's bring into the conversation here. Let's bring it back to
bring it back to real estate.
CPI.
Yeah, I can't believe they're actually contemplating that.
Yeah.
I mean, with the way that I follow it pretty religiously, but between the jobs report and the CPI and the idea they're going to cut rates or else what scares me a little bit about it is they know something we don't. They know if they're actually considering doing that, they can't be looking at the same data we're looking at, right? You would think there's no way, but unless they know something we don't know about the economy.
Somebody said to me the other day, well, of course he's going to cut rates because he doesn't want Donald Trump to boot him from his current position as chair of the of the Federal Reserve. And I was like, he is locked in by federal statute, by federal mandate until March or April, May of 2026.
2026. Yeah.
So,
I don't think he's intimidated.
It's not that whatsoever. So what the hell is going on? Because I agree with you. The data does not. And in fact, I just checked the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, their FedWatch. And there is, what did I tell you, like a 98% certainty.
They're calling a 98% chance in December.
The CME is saying that at next week's meeting of the Federal Open Markets Committee that there is, we're actually making this sound sexy, aren't we?
That's kind of too bad, though. That's kind of too bad because if they don't do it at that point, it's going to be disruptive. If you get a 90% CME and then they don't do it,
yes,
it's going to be disruptive.
Right. I agree. So what the hell is compelling them?
That's what worries me. They know something we don't.
And then the question also, all right, so let's assume that there's a 1/4 point reduction in the federal funds rate next week. Is that ultimately going to impact the mortgage rates, the 30-year
It hasn't yet.
And I don't, because oftentimes in anticipation of, we're seeing the rates come down and the rate is baked into the FOMC's announcement. So
I don't think that the bond market is watching the Fed as much as it used to. I think that there's a lot more that they're making their own independent analysis of where the economy is going to be a year from now. The 10-year bond market is really looking at, okay, where are we going to be and where's the economy going to be a year from now? And they think it's less influenced by the Federal Reserve going up and down than just the general economy.
Well, and
that's what I'm
my blog last month. I don't know if you read my blog. I know that you listen to the podcast, and we're so grateful for that. I'm not sure if you listen to the blog or listen or read the blog. But I had cited a Wall Street Journal article from last month in which they talk about bond vigilantes, who are the group of men, and mostly men and women, who are actually impacting the 30-year mortgage in the way you've just described.
Exactly. And the context of that is I think I read that article. I think in the context of it was that it's going to be difficult for Trump to affect some of the change that he wants to undertake because, well, two reasons. There's a bunch of Republican senators that are really deficit hawks. Mm-hmm. And he's going to want to do this and do that, and they're going to relate everything to the deficit, and the deficit's not good, right? We're not starting from a good spot there. And then the other thing is they really are concerned about the overall deficit and its effect, having to buy all those bonds to fund the deficit. Is just, for those guys, it's kind of frightening. The bond vigilantes are just people that are concerned that we're issuing. A couple times in the last year, the amount of bonds that we issued in 1 week scared them. They go to issue the bonds and they're issuing billions more than the usual. And it's like, who's going to buy all these bonds? China's not doing that well. Right? And they were buying a lot of bonds when things were going good with China.
Yeah, exactly.
And talk about real property. That's a really interesting real property story if you follow it.
Oh yeah.
China is. Have you seen the pictures of just empty towns, whole cities?
In these
10,
enormous
15,000
apartment complexes
that are just
empty.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
Can they bring some to Rochester? We could use use a couple.
All over the whole
maybe
United
another town.
States. Yeah. And the effect you have to do to change that on that massive scale.
Right.
I know
they are having some serious. We could spend an entire podcast
exactly.
talking about China, and economically, politically, and otherwise. But
what do you think? I know that you're involved in the attempt to create more housing. Mm-hmm. What do you think the answer is? I mean, do you have any sense after having done that for like the last year?
Towns removing red tape.
Yeah. Do you have any sense of where it can go? And do you think it's particularly a New York problem?
I do think it's. I won't say a New York problem. I'll say I think it's distinctly a Rochester problem, because if you think about these communities in the South, the Southeast, in Texas, that are just booming, and there's just all this construction that's going on, and we are desperate. We are desperate. So how many properties are on the market for sale right now?
417.
Yeah, okay, 417. We need 1,500 to 2,000 properties on the market for sale throughout the course of the year in order to satisfy the needs of the buyers who are out there. And you've got all of these great companies, all these great home builders who have lined up literally hundreds of buyers, and they go before these planning boards in individual towns, and they are shot down. And so I think that the home builders, the plight of the home builders is really terrible, but these home builders need to become more savvy in terms of their public relations. They need to start to stack these town planning board meetings with men and women who are saying, I am desperate for a roof over my head. I want to buy in your town, and I want to increase the tax base, and I'm not able to do so because for the past 3 or 4 months, you've had the same 6 or 8 NIMBYs who are showing up and saying, no, I do not want any further growth in the town of fill in the blank.
Yeah, no, it's because, of course, I was the attorney in Brighton for years and years. And, we're the ground zero for that problem, really. Right. There's no places to build.
Well, there is no place to build, but, let's go to Parent, and let's go to,
the other interesting thing about it was that I was, when I was at the town, I attempted a lot to try to get the town to be more proactive in zoning housing. And what they do is they have vacant land, and in Brighton, I just use it as an example. Mm-hmm. There's land there, and they just wait for people to come in with a proposal. And then they consider rezoning and all that stuff. Yeah. I was unable to get anybody to move forward and say, okay, and particularly the Gunzenhauser Farm, which really should have, where it is right there at Westfall, the big piece of land.
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear what you said. That's why I looked at
the Gunzenhauser Farm.
Got it. Okay.
I mean, the town really should have sat down instead of waiting for somebody to come in and say, oh, I just paid $10 million. Now I have to have 50,000 lots. They should have sat down and just zoned it for, what do you think is
Whole
appropriate?
Foods?
What do you think is
Maybe
appropriate?
Whole Foods?
Well, no, residential housing. I mean,
Whole Foods should be there. It should not be clogging up Monroe Avenue.
Yeah.
So
I feel bad. I don't see a lot of cars in that parking lot.
Yeah.
I've been once.
Yeah. I went there.
Should we talk about that on the podcast? We shouldn't.
Yes, I will. Because listen, I mean,
we're getting in trouble on that one.
I am such a huge fan of, advocate of, a proponent of. I mean, pom-poms in hand, jumping up and down constantly whenever I can to sing the praises of Danny, of Colleen, and those people, and what they do for this community, and the amount of money that they donate. I mean, better than most. The anonymous check that shows a white envelope, is suddenly delivered to the desk of some executive director of a local not-for-profit. Open it up, and it's a check from Danny for $1 million. So it's a check from they need to be supported. They support this community. We need to support them. I love those guys.
The issue that's an interesting project though, because I think they expected a lot more draw from more around the county.
Yeah.
Than they're getting. I don't think it's not an easy place to get in and out of.
No.
From other places.
It really isn't. I hopefully Jeff Bezos is going to be able to survive financially.
Probably be okay.
Given that. So,
it'd be like if we were walking down the street and a quarter fell out of our pocket. Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah. A quarter, maybe.
A penny.
Yeah, a penny. Yeah.
David, so.
Yeah, where's our list of.
We just I didn't even look at the list. We're just going to is there a question?
What the most interesting, I got the list. Mark sent me some subjects on it. I thought the most interesting one was the question of who will prevail: sole agents, teams, or large brokerages.
Ooh,
Okay, well, there we go.
All right.
Hey, Alex, I'm going to turn to Alex, who's our engineer. I think we got a new co-host of the podcast. So you want to
Yeah,
So,
no,
there we go.
but I think
We're gonna
that's
bring you as a
why I'm
co-host.
not
We're gonna
supposed to direct the conversation.
it's fine.
Sorry,
Oh my God! Are you kidding?
Okay, I'll just sit here and listen. Okay,
Ron, go with it.
No. I just want to hear what you guys think about that.
Do me a favor. Ask the question.
Yeah, I mean, who is going to prevail? I mean, there's been a lot of movement recently in the last year, the last 5 months, 4 months, 3 months. There's been some changes.
Okay, so now that you asked the question.
Yeah, what's gonna prevail? What structural method of transacting real estate business in Rochester is going to prevail? Sole agents, teams, or large?
Okay, so
brokerages?
so I need you to take off your cap as a co-host and put on your cap as a guest and answer the question.
Oh.
Stumped himself. Oh boy.
Well, first of all, I don't want to offend anybody. Okay,
well,
that's my first job. Okay.
Everyone's going to do great, but who's going to do the best?
Well, let's look at what's happened. Okay, I guess would be the first interesting thing. There's been a change insofar as the large brokerages have definitely. If you look at the top 25 now, they're the
top 25 selling agents.
Yes. or complexes, whatever you want to call them. There are 20 of them are teams. Obviously, there's very few sole agents or one or two together, doing business.
I'm trying to think who on that list is.
I think Pat Hastings.
Okay.
Might be the only one. I use Pat Hastings. Maybe I shouldn't need to say it. But Pat Hastings, my buddy and great guy, Pat Hastings is he's kind of still a solo agent in a lot of ways, and he certainly writes his contracts like that. If you've ever seen him, you can't even read them. So
handwritten stuff.
Yeah. So, but he's probably one of the few up there. But definitely the teams are up there, and it's getting more difficult. I think that the teams have somewhat, and you guys are a perfect example. We were talking about it earlier, of perfecting the interface between the realtors, between the other realtors, the attorneys, and the clients. Getting that call 30 days before the closing and saying, "Hey, do we have the title? Is there any real issue?" That's new. Okay, and I think that's generated.
That's new.
That's relatively new. I don't think there was a lot of that 5 years ago. Where you had did you have a dedicated person calling 5 years ago?
Oh yeah. I mean, and I say this. I think we may have been bellwethers in that regard.
Could be, but now all the teams obviously are doing that.
Okay.
Most of the bigger teams, as they should, but as they can afford to too. I mean, it's more of an enterprise that's viewed as an enterprise, and that's going to be tough, I think, for solo agents and smaller teams to compete with. But on the other hand, it's unfortunate though, because the way that I see this question also involves Zillow.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt here because I'm just reading
ahead.
here. All right, so to answer the question about who, so Danielle Clement, I think she's more or less.
She's got a team.
Oh, she has a team? Okay, there you go. I love Danielle. Amy Patron, she really is kind of a solo. Yeah, she's got one or two people with her, but it's pretty small.
Not a team per se.
Yeah. I don't know. Mandy's got a team. Alan's
got a team.
Yeah, Alan does have a team. We got Nunzio, we got Grant, we got Debbie Jacob. Debbie Jacob is it's just she and her daughter, and she ranks number 17. She does a great job. Angie Brown is number 20, so there we go. Yeah. And then Pat Hastings. So yeah.
Yeah, mostly teams. But I think it's hard. I think it's hard for the solo practitioners to compete with the teams. On the other hand, the teams are challenged, and you guys, I think, are pretty good at this, is you're challenged that because ideally 20, 15 years ago, it was relationships. Mm-hmm. And it was just relationships. And I do include Zillow as part of this problem. It was all relationships, and you got your agent, you got your leads and stuff from your sphere, and you were in constant communication with them, and it was kind of a relationship type business. I think Zillow has driven us away from that. And it's the teams with their admin and such are able to still communicate through their admin and their people with the client, the buyer seller, and do a good job of creating that kind of quasi relationship. But Zillow, I mean, we see Zillow as, I guess, I don't know, as an enemy, really, because the transactions come in. Oh, there's just not that relationship with the client. The agent doesn't have the relationship with the client, and that creates a couple problems for us. One is we end up stepping in a lot. I mean, we realistically, we charge more, and I think all of us attorneys charge more because we're doing more as part of the transactions with a lot of the realtors, not necessarily your team.
Yeah, well, we don't buy leads. We've never bought a single.
Right. No, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. But the leads. But so these people don't have a sphere relationship with this client.
There's no trust. Yeah, there's no
with
trust.
this client, and therefore a lot of times it's like, can you talk to this person? About this particular problem.
Well, you can say you have a law degree, so that gives you some cash.
Well, it does. Oh, they say that a lot. Let me tell you, you're the lawyer. You do it. But you know what I'm saying, though? They don't have that. I mean, you have a relationship with your client, and there's a problem. You're calling your client, and you're saying, hey, I told you this, but it didn't work out that way, and this. And that is a privilege, and that's why it is that
you were telling us off air that what percentage of deals.
11% of our transactions die.
11%. I literally, I don't know if we had a single transaction. We did 250 transactions this year, 225. I don't think we had a single transaction.
We're having them die 2 days before the closing. It's crazy.
Really?
Right.
Right. And why is that?
Well, I think that it's a bunch of factors, but it goes back a little bit to what we were just talking about. There's a lack of trust, a lack of communication. Okay, I hate saying this, but we need to, all of us. One of the things we need to do this better. And I talk a lot. I go out to places and talk a lot about the fact that I think we need to do this better. We need better communication. We need better time with our clients.
Do we need?
We do. I think as a general industry,
do you know what we need?
What?
We need agents to leave this industry.
Yes.
We desperately, and I just finished my blog, sent it off to the RBJ yesterday, and I talk about just this issue. All right, so that may sound harsh, but this is one of the largest financial transactions that somebody makes during the course of their lifetime. They need an expert.
An interesting thought on that. I don't know if you're going to agree with this or not, and it could be provocative, but I think part of it is that in Rochester, you have so many, I think, pretty good attorneys. Mm-hmm. And we end up doing, I think in whole parts of the country, the attorney in a lot of places, the attorney just does the contract.
Yes.
And you guys really, truly manage the transactions.
Yes.
You manage the title. Basically, you get the title company. It's your title company. You work with the title company to get the title and all that. So the agent does the numbers for the closing. How about that? In a lot of places, the agent puts the numbers together, talks to the bank, gets the numbers, and then calls the client and says, here's what you got to bring to the closing tomorrow and all that stuff. Here, we do all of that.
Okay.
So it is possible, Mark, in this industry, the way it is structured here in Rochester, to be an agent who just signs a contract and then hands it to the attorney and says, close it.
Yeah. But that is what it is that we're experiencing. But those deals are part of the 11% that you're talking about. And what kind of representation is the buyer of or the seller of a property getting when it is? And if agents aren't going to leave the business, okay, fine. Then these large brokerages, and I'm not going to name any, but these large brokerages who are just playing a numbers game, and this numbers game is all about, I'm just going to bring in as many agents as I possibly can, knowing the bulk and the majority of them are going to fall off, and then we're just going to be left with a certain number. And if we have 350 agents, each of them who are doing $1.5 million, $2 million worth of real estate every year, that adds up to a very, very large number. And those brokerages, I think, have a responsibility that they've long since abdicated, a responsibility to train the agents. Not just what box to check when it is that they're filling out a form, but how is it that you apprise and educate somebody about these enormous...
Right, and then you throw Zillow on top of that. That's what I'm saying. You throw Zillow on top of that, where you literally can just sign up and get a Zillow lead and just get transactions that are not related to your expertise, right? It's just they're coming in the door and you're closing them. So it creates a challenge for us because we end up working these transactions where there isn't a relationship between the realtor and the client.
Okay, so
and we're kind of stepping in to that,
Are you seeing less of that now since the changes that took place on August 17th?
Well, I think there are going to be fewer agents, right? I mean, the only...
Well, specifically with Zillow, because, again, just to recap for anyone who wasn't, around, biggest thing that changed was we have to have buyer agency agreements between a buyer and their buyer's agent prior to a showing. logically would think that these people that would traditionally just go on Zillow, find an agent there, that they don't know, have no trust in, aren't going to want to sign some kind of long-standing contract with that person.
Yeah, I am not involved in that aspect of it, so I don't really see it. I suspect it's
Dwindling.
Yes, I suspect it is. And I think that overall, over time, I don't think there's any question that this is all going to move towards the relationships that we're talking about. I mean, the agents that have those relationships and are able to foster, even the newer agents, I mean, some people are just able to create relationships, and those people should be in the business, even if they only started a year ago. They're good at it.
Yes.
We represent a bunch of those agents that they shock me how skillful they are at what they're doing, even though they've only been an agent for 2 or 3 years, and they're succeeding.
Carly Napier.
I don't know her particularly, but yes, I mean, there's ones that just started out but have the skill,
just
but the rest
crushing
of them are gonna, and there is unfortunately there's probably less chance now. Just like with lawyers, it's harder and harder to be a sole agent and do your shingle. I mean, certainly nobody does that anymore. Puts out the shingle. Where did you start?
I started with Garlow & Guth back in 1990.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember
because
going
your brother-in-law was a
And he's standing
mortgage broker.
Rob Dolan was the mortgage
Yes.
broker for the crowd.
Yep.
You guys were over on...
East Avenue. And then we moved over to Monroe. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, my God, yeah.
Yeah.
You used to go over there.
Yeah, exactly. So... All right, but let's go back to the question that you had posed to yourself a few minutes ago, which was, where do you see all this headed? Like, who is going to prevail?
There's a little room for both. There's a little room for both with the agents that are able to create relationships and go on. I mean, do you think you could be a small team and be successful? Yes. You personally could, because you have those certain skills that it takes to do that, and there's other people out there that will succeed in that construct, okay? Mm-hmm. But typically, given the whole volume of deals, the teams are going to be tough competition to beat. You've got an admin that's calling, following up, making sure this is done, making sure that is done. You have to have a certain volume of deals and people to be able to do that.
Yep.
That's your huge advantage. And somehow continue to focus, which I think some of the teams do well, some of them do less. Focus on creating and establishing and fostering those relationships, because it's ultimately relationships.
Let me give you some statistics that I think are just really, really interesting. I think we've mentioned these a few times in the past, but I'd love to hear your perspective. National Association of Realtors is predicting upwards of 10% of all agents nationally are going to be leaving the business.
It's going to be more than that.
I agree with that.
I think 10% is a low number.
Good. I agree with that too.
I mean, if you look at the volume, that's the other problem. If you look at the volume 5-7 years ago, wasn't it like 4,000? It was huge.
Here in Monroe County?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's down 25% over 5-7 years.
Oh,
no,
we're down 70. The number of properties on the market for sale today versus 7 years ago, we're down 74%.
Yeah. I mean, that's not good for trying to start
the real estate business. We're going to start to reclaim some of that in this coming year, but all right. So, but another statistic which I think is really, really fascinating, and you might not want to answer. Well, no, answer it globally. RE/MAX has seen 6% of all their agents leave the brokerages nationally. Keller Williams, 9% nationally. And I think it's because agents are realizing that, in this day and age of technology, that they don't have the need to rely, as an agent once did, on a brokerage to help them to drive their business. So you would join, let's call it Dothnagel a few years ago, or you would join Mitchell Pearson's office because you needed that brand in order to drive business. Agents realize that they are now the brand, that the brokerage is no longer the brand, and they're looking for something more than simply a place to hang their shingles. And I think that's part of the reason why it is you're seeing these national brands losing so many agents. Yeah,
there's no question. It's because of you. I mean, if you look at it, not to you, RPP. I mean, they're setting up their own. Well, I guess RPP is a franchise, but you can set up. Yes, if you have the reputation now that technology is not something that you need from RE/MAX.
Right.
You can go out and establish that technology yourself. So if you have the relationships at Technology, Elysian Homes, or something similar to that, and I think there's a bunch of them, you have competition in that area, the non-franchise team, on your own, that's probably actually the method, the construct that's going to work the best in the future.
Yeah.
On your own, you control it,
Yeah, I agree. Super teams. I mean, you take what Ryan.
And just look in Rochester. I think there's a bunch of them that have been relatively successful.
Yeah, I
look
agree.
at the top 25.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
So, I mean, we know it's been a challenging year for agents. From your perspective, real estate attorney, challenging year?
Well, what's challenging for us, first of all, it was interesting because we went back and looked at the numbers. They're really close to last year. I mean, we are on the same. It was interesting that the year shifted. I don't know if this happened to you guys, but slower in the beginning. Our slow time, January, February, March, went into April
Mark
and
was
May.
losing his mind.
Right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, they said about me that one point one of the people in the office said, "What's David doing?" He goes, "He's in the back walking the halls." Okay, great.
Yeah.
First of all, I felt like one of my old guys. But I was literally pacing because
I was huddled under my desk, just like trembling. Yeah.
In May, and I didn't see the ramp. There's got to be that ramp up,
Yep.
and it did come. It just came late, and it's actually. I was always hoping that we were stronger longer, and we have been.
Yep.
So in the end, our year is going to end up really within small percentage of both in dollars and in numbers to last year. Okay, which is great.
Yeah.
I think that our challenge is that they still seem to come in waves. I mean, our volume, it's very difficult to manage to the volume to which we have to manage to. I mean, we can close in a week, 125, 150 transactions.
Oh my God.
Last Friday, and I don't know if I don't want to brag or anything, but I mean, last Friday we closed 38 transactions on a Friday in December.
Yep.
And I was away. Heather was away because we look at these.
So wait,
we look at the first Friday in December and said, that's a vacation day, right? Nope. And I'm working from vacation like a complete mad dog. Up at 5:30, working until 7 o'clock at night. On the computer doing checks, running everything, because it was really busy. And it's just been stronger longer, which is great for us. So, but we are more involved in the transactions. The other thing that really is difficult, and I think a lot of us are struggling with, is the post-close.
Oh,
Huge post-close problems. 25%, as Heather was saying, 25% of our transactions, we're involved in the transaction in some meaningful way after it's closed.
We're finding more of that.
And we're trying to figure out, one, I mean,
Wait.
I spend personally, the problem with it too is it usually comes to me, like I can have, the team goes on, or you guys call them teams, my team, they go on and manage all the transactions, they do it all, I don't really get involved, only I deal with all the problems and all that stuff. Well, every post-closing problem is really a problem, and it comes to me. So I end up spending 50% of my time on post-closing issues.
So what are you seeing? What are the kinds of problems that you're seeing post-closing? Can you be specific?
And are they all related to waiving inspections?
I would say 70% of them are waiving inspections.
But
Is
is it a problem? I mean, they're waiving inspections.
They're waiving inspections, and there's problems with these houses.
But the problems that are hitting your desk, what are those problems?
Furnaces, water. How about the one today I did a transaction. Hey, this property's on septic. We thought it was on sewer. Everything says sewer.
Oh no!
That kind of problem.
I'm sorry. Is there an echo in here?
Why?
It sounds like the agents that we're talking, like these agents who just don't know what the hell they're doing.
No, actually, not true in this particular case.
Oh,
this
come on,
agent
David.
was all over it.
Really?
And yeah, no, there was no malfeasance at all. This was just, you wonder, was this did the seller, or, some percentage of this is what I call the lock on the back door doesn't work, and it has never worked. And I'm selling the house, and I'm like, is there something wrong with the house? Oh, nothing wrong with the house. The lock on the back door doesn't work. Oh, you're right. Boy, we never fixed that. And you don't think it's a problem, and you don't even notice it's a defect but a new buyer comes in and says, oh, that's broken. And you're like, oh my God, they didn't disclose it because they don't perceive it as a problem. And it might be that's what this was. I don't know. Yeah, we're on sewer, never checked the septic,
So how are these issues being resolved?
Not well. Not well. We have form letters that go out that basically we have a letter we send to the other attorney saying, hey, this is a problem, wasn't disclosed. And we end up going to small claims court.
Really? You are going to court?
Oh my God, yeah. We recommend, we have a whole package that goes out.
So
which is a very effective method to get $5,000. No, I mean, if that's your
Yeah,
problem
sure.
is,
Yeah.
you know, a $3,000, small claims court is great.
So I'm wondering whether or not, as you continue to grow your business, or as your business continues to grow, is there going to be a need to hire a litigator, another attorney, just to handle that kind of thing?
Oh, we have a referral list.
You do, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but in-house, I'm wondering if you would ever bring somebody in-house.
That would be
like
great.
grow, yeah.
That would be great, but it really is. The problem is, the problem with what we do primarily real estate for a reason. It really takes up, I can't on an average day spend an afternoon working on a project. It's why I don't do a lot of commercial real estate. I know it. I did it for years. For 2 or 3 years, that's all I did. But it takes a lot of my personal time. And the same thing is true with litigation and all that stuff. It takes bulk.
Yeah, right,
It takes hunks of time when we're really more like you guys, where we're just doing transactions. We're just trying to keep things moving along.
You have to focus.
Yeah, and we can't.
You have to be focused. By the way, speaking of which, just a real quick sidebar. Is your brother still selling commercial real estate?
Andrew.
Yeah.
Well, he is. He is and he isn't. Yeah, he is.
Okay. Great guy.
He picks and chooses, but yes, he does.
All right, great.
Yeah, he does.
Tell him I said hello.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, his business it kind of changed because he did tenant rep on malls. And, there's not a lot of Jenny Craig's coming in, and taking up spaces in all the malls. And, Dramatic change there, too. It's all changing. I mean, it's like constant, huh?
Do you think this change is good?
Which one?
Just for real estate, what we've witnessed the past, year or so.
The past year, has the change been good? Yes, probably. I think that more and more, the agents are going to more and more stress that what we talked about, which is communication and relationship being successful. There's no question you're right. There's going to be a bunch dropping off. Mm-hmm. And that's a good thing. It'll be a good thing overall. I mean, the agents that don't do, it's like everything else. I had a dear friend who was a surgeon, who you probably know. He always used to look at me and say, I'm the best surgeon at Rochester. I'm the best surgeon at Rochester. And of course, he's a typical doctor.
That narrows it down to 250 surgeons.
Yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say, right? And he goes, the reason is I do more than anybody else. Everybody else does 2 a day. I do 5. And there's some of that for in the real estate industry, if it tapers down a little bit and there's more agents doing more transactions, I think they'll be better at it. And that'll be helpful.
I completely agree.
I mean, anything else? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, why am I good at what I do? Well, if you do as many as I've done, it's hard to find something I haven't really seen and don't have a somewhat quick response to, okay, here's what we're going to do.
Sure. Put your crystal ball in front of you. What are we seeing for 2025?
It's going to be just, I think you guys discussed this last week. Did you? I mean, it's going to be the same pretty much. I think. I don't see huge. I think there's going to be some change though in the pockets. I mean, like for instance, Brighton, which of course I live in and follow a lot. It's a different that market is changing, is different, and there might be a greater discrepancy between Hilton and Brighton. There might be greater discrepancies between the volume. More houses. Yeah. You might find more. Although I gotta say, I was looking at the numbers in preparation for this. This is a good time to go out and try to buy a house. The unsold listings is higher than it has been in a while.
Yep.
In that number, the unsold listing thing has really jumped around. Do you follow that?
I don't personally.
So.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great metric.
Do we need a new metric?
No, it's a weekly metric. It's a weekly metric that you really have to keep an eye on because it goes up and down and sometimes it's a little frightening. You're like, oh my God, unsold listings up 60% week over week. You're kind of like, oh, the thing's dropping. But it doesn't. It comes back. It goes up and down. But unsold listings went up, which makes me think, given the other things that we talked about earlier, just to encourage people, this might be a good time during Christmas and over these holidays. When you're talking about a market that is tight because of inventory, the inventory I think will loosen up over this holiday season. There's going to be fewer and fewer buyers out there, and it might be, hey, this is a good time to go look at houses.
And I mean, the holidays always are a great time, but
the inventory, but particularly with tight inventory, the inventory is going to go up. I think in the next month. Because there's going to be fewer and fewer purchases, which goes to that under contract thing. It's going to go down.
All right, so next year, do you think that interest rates are going to come down a little bit? Yes.
I don't know about that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
Who knows? No one knows.
Because remember, there's that other whole metric on top of it, which is, the banks have to make money. And the banks are gouging us, and they're going to continue to.
The spread. They're making more than enough money. The spread,
is there, and I don't see them all of a sudden saying, "Oh, we're going to be really nice. We're going to lower the spread here."
It's like out of the kindness of their heart.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
All right, so interest rates. I'm with you. I mean, I think they might drop a little bit. I don't think that we're not going to see a 5 handle next year.
No.
Inventory, you think will go up a little bit here
in the short term, but I think you're going to have the same inventory problem next year at the busy times.
Okay, great. All right. Any other?
The whole problem, I think, is again. I went back to this last time. It's household formation. We just have people, those 40-year-old, 30-year-old people, women and men are getting married. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're wanting to buy houses.
Yeah, they don't want to live with mom and dad any longer.
They don't.
Once they're married.
Yeah, exactly.
And kids are going up to college, people are getting new jobs, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, that's going to start to loosen things up.
There's just a lot of action for people wanting someplace to live, and there's no inventory.
All right, so any other wild suggestions, any prophecies or prognostications that you want to make for the year to come?
There'll be fewer. There's no question there could be fewer agents. That's what's going to happen locally more than I think even nationally.
Great. How many?
Because the market's tighter. I mean,
the market's
tighter here.
What percentage?
I'd say 15 to 18%.
Okay.
And how many are now? 3,000?
3,500? Yeah, 3,600.
3,500, 3,600?
Yeah.
So what would that be? That's 360. That's about
540
540 agents.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. Would it surprise you?
No.
I don't know. We talk about it every single week. I don't know how people are making a living. I don't know why it is that they continue to renew their license when it costs so much to renew your license. And
it costs so much to do everything. Driving your car out to a listing in Hamlin is expensive.
Yeah, and then you're making, the statistics. 50% of all agents nationally didn't sell a single house last year. Another 10% sold one or two houses. So if you take that and if you extrapolate and apply that to what's going on locally, I mean, that means that 1,800 agents didn't sell a single house last year.
Yeah, exactly. And I got to tell you, I think that some of we're steady. We're steady year over year, and we have been over time. I think part of that is the fact that there's fewer and fewer real estate lawyers. There's no question.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I mean, the guys downtown that were in the tower down there that had practiced law for 30 years, 40 years, they're gone. I can use a bunch of examples.
And those firms are not interested in replacing them.
They don't want to do any real estate. And what's happened is, fortunately for us and a couple other my competitors, it's coming, it's just dribbling down. There's fewer and fewer. So we get transactions now from agents that we don't even know.
Yeah.
Which really didn't happen very much before, which we encourage. I call every one of them.
Did those large firms, I always thought that those large firms had and wanted a real estate practice because they saw it as perhaps a lost leader, an opportunity to start to create a relationship with a buyer. And then okay, great, now we need to write a will.
The big ones, Woods, Ovia, Nixon, Hargrave, they have one lawyer who does that.
Yeah.
And it's the doctor office that wants to buy a house, and they do it. But they have no interest in doing general real estate like us.
Insane.
Not bad for you.
Yeah.
No, it's good for us. It really, in fact, it's part of our success is our ability to be here, and have the market change around us, and we really have made a lot of changes too in our effort to communicate. I mean, we send out on every transaction 6 to 10 emails.
Yeah.
To our clients.
Yep.
Saying, hey, every time we get the title in, boom, you get a notice.
Okay, all right, so that. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds because I know we need to wrap up in just a moment. Yeah. But are you doing that? Or I should actually be asking Heather, who's sitting over here.
That's why I told you. You got to have that, okay? You got to have the Heather,
All right, so first of all, who's Heather?
Heather's paralegal, main boss.
Dude.
The boss.
Okay, I was going to say, that's your opportunity.
The boss. Yeah, but she's also kind of...
She runs everything. She runs your life.
She's a controlling factor in my life.
You're a disaster without her, okay?
I got to be careful, okay?
Yeah.
I don't want to be,
You're a disaster without her. It's okay. Listen, Ed, our CEO, he's my work husband, okay? Yeah. Duppy's fine with it. Stephanie, his wife, she's fine with it. Yeah. So, she's... Right.
There you go.
There we
got to have one of those.
All right, so when it is that you're sending out these 6 or 8 letters?
All during the process, the emails.
But is it being generated automatically as a result of technology?
It is.
Okay, great. It has to be.
It's generally because we have to recognize that we have it. So when you push the button that says we have it, puts the date and the time in.
Yeah.
the email goes out in the background. You don't see it.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah,
Thank God. Yeah, you have to have automated
My next thing
processes.
is somehow we have to get it so that, well, that's interesting because there's more and more of our time is spent responding to you guys, which is good, right? You're calling, your admin is calling us saying, hey, what's the status of this transaction? Well, it's gotten to the point with the bigger teams all doing that we need to figure out at our level how to respond to that without having it take any time.
Yeah, yes.
Because we're spending a lot of time now we do, the teams that we represent, in fact, we go through and we do weekly, bi-weekly, report to them of every transaction and the status. But we need to get to the point where we're providing that to everybody. Mm-hmm. One-offs and everything, okay? And what we need to do is have them have some app on their phone, which I'm working on, that's going to be a conjunction in with my system, which I designed and it's proprietary to the firm.
Oh, that's awesome.
That you come in and that you can actually come in and on the phone and say, what's the status of this? And there'll be a page that just gives you, which is an interesting thing because it also would have to include like education. Because a lot of the agents, they're not going to understand necessarily when we say we don't have the title yet, and it's a week ahead.
Yeah, you throw out the word curative
that's
and they
when
freeze.
You panic. Yeah, that's when you panic. You don't panic 3 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
So when you go on the app and you see, we don't have the title yet, don't call me. But when so it's an education thing too to say, okay, here's the data, but now be educated about it.
I'm beginning to wonder as a result of this conversation whether or not the consumer, the buyer, the seller might actually. Are we starting to look at a system in which we're going to have 2 tiers of service? One, which is David Dollinger and his firm do an awesome job, and so they're going to charge you $1,000 for a transaction because they're going to cross every T and dot every I. And the agents associated with Legion Homes are going to charge you 6%, 3% for our side of things. There's no negotiating off it, or maybe even 3% and $1,000 on top for it, 3.25% or something. I don't know. Go ahead.
Right, but here's what you're getting.
Yeah, exactly, and be able to demand those higher numbers because it is a luxury service. It is a bespoke service, and you're going to get really, really.
That's where we're going. That's where we have to go, honestly, as an industry. And I think you guys are definitely trying to get there. But collectively, you want to see a change. That's where we have to go. Is all of us have to be there.
Interesting.
And technology is part of it. Yeah. Kind of a scary part, too, because that idea of having information in the hands of the agent, certainly not in the client, in the client, you could give it to the client, but boy, you would have had to really educate them as to what this information really means. And because we have to do that even with the agents, is to say, here we are, it's 30 days out, this is a problem. Mm-hmm. We don't have X. Yep. But, we've had some really interesting title problems in the last, that we've worked so hard to resolve. That's the other thing that's interesting. That's the fun part about the business,
All the problems.
Yeah, you got a real problem. Like this one was a foreclosure where the foreclosure wasn't done correctly, and
I think
we went back and we understood.
Might be a little different,
we understood
David.
the foreclosure business enough to know you got to go do this, and it was great.
My idea of fun is like a beachside cocktail. But to each their own.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me. As always.
I mean, we could talk for another hour.
God, this is great. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
We really didn't. We didn't get through the list. Hey, do you guys, just real quick, yes or no? Big impact from the DOJ? No, none.
Right now, no.
Do you think that I think there's been a slight decline in commissions for the buyers? No?
Not really.
No, you don't think so? I mean, just on few deals, minimal, but there is a negotiation, and on some of the deals, there's been some, I thought, a little bit.
One, I think I am the only one who has one where the buyer's actually chipping in. It's not even the full.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
we have.
I don't really see.
Certainly not any kind of Armageddon or any problem. No, nothing. No. It's very.
It wasn't the end of the world like everyone supposed it was going to be.
But again,
it's crazy.
It could be one more factor that's going to cause agents to leave the industry.
It is. Also, I wonder how different it is in the other. I wonder if Rochester also is not a little bit of an outlier on that DOJ thing.
Probably.
Do you think the commissions have changed more in the rest of the country?
According to the journal articles that I've read, they have declined.
That's what I thought.
But by 0.2 percentage point, a quarter.
Right, not a lot.
Yeah.
Again, that's relationship.
Yeah, in Rochester, just the mechanism which things are sold, it's it ain't broke, don't fix it for sellers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, a tight market makes it very difficult for the seller to say, "Hey, I'm not paying."
All right, I wish we had more time, but
Sorry.
next week I want to talk to whoever our guest is.
I'm not coming
Who's
back
our guest
next week. No.
Danielle.
Too busy.
Oh, Danielle. Oh, okay. Oh, great. So this will be interesting to talk to Danielle. Danielle Clement is.
I want to hear what she has to say.
Oh,
I listen to it. I mean, I listen to you guys religiously.
We know that you and Heather. Yeah, we know that. Thank you so much. She is a monster. I am so excited about that conversation. But I'm really interested to chat with her about the latest article in the New York Times about the NAR and how it is that they've got this slush fund that nobody knows about. You saw
I read that. Yes.
Oh my God! So we can't talk about it now, but it really is. They just all need to resign and
they do. That was so mismanaged. That organization is terrible.
It is just terrible. That's a shitty organization.
Well, there you have it.
There we go.
We'll have that next week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.